From Here to Eternity was not just a romantic war drama, it was an emotional battlefield disguised as a love story. Behind the iconic surf kiss and the solemn bugle call lay months of feuds, heartbreak, censorship fights, and risky creative decisions that almost destroyed everyone involved. What looked like Hollywood perfection was born from chaos, bruised egos, and political fire. Here are 20 weird facts about From Here to Eternity and one bonus revelation that will make you see this Oscar winner in a completely different light. Fact number 20. The Army tried to kill the movie. The United States Army hated the original novel, calling it anti-military propaganda. The brass demanded changes before allowing filming on an actual base. Director Fred Zinnemann refused to glorify the system. Instead, he fought for authenticity. Only after producer Buddy Adler promised to soften the brutality did the military approve cooperation. Even then, uniform advisors clashed with actors on set, arguing over salute styles and dialogue. The Army's fear was clear. They didn't want America to see corruption inside its ranks. Ironically, that very tension made the film more real. Zinnemann's battle for truth became symbolic of the fight for artistic freedom during Cold War censorship. The Army tried to bury the story, but instead helped build a legend that would win 8 Oscars. Fact number 19. Frank Sinatra begged for his role. Frank Sinatra's career was collapsing. His records weren't selling. His voice was damaged by stress and scandal. Desperate, he begged Columbia to let him audition for the role of Maggio. Studio executives laughed him off. They wanted Eli Wallach. But Sinatra refused to quit. He flew himself to Hawaii, financed his own wardrobe, and shocked everyone with raw intensity. Rumors spread that the Mafia helped him land the part, yet insiders confirmed it was Sinatra's hunger that sealed it. He gave everything to that role because his life depended on it. When he won the Oscar, his tears weren't for victory, they were for survival. That comeback didn't just save his career, it changed Hollywood's perception of him forever, from singer to serious actor. Fact number 18. Deborah Kerr's transformation shocked everyone. Before From Here to Eternity, Deborah Kerr was known as a refined English lady of cinema. Zinnemann wanted to destroy that image. He cast her as the sultry, adulterous Karen Holmes, a role that stunned audiences and even scandalized her fans. On set, Kerr embraced the challenge. She trained in Hawaii, sunburned herself intentionally to look more sensual, and studied American slang. Her chemistry with Burt Lancaster was electric and entirely unscripted. That beach scene wasn't supposed to be so wild. But the tide rose faster than expected, soaking both actors and forcing them to keep going. The result was Hollywood's most sensual kiss. Kerr's career exploded afterward, proving she could play more than polite. Perfection. It was rebellion in waves of passion and salt water. Fact number 17. Burt Lancaster hated the iconic beach scene. Everyone remembers the beach kiss, but Burt Lancaster hated filming it. The sand cut his skin, the waves nearly drowned them, and the constant reshoots made him furious. He later called it the most uncomfortable day of his career. Zinnemann insisted on multiple takes from different angles until both actors were shivering. Crew members had to pull them out between shots. What audiences saw as passion was in truth exhaustion and survival. Lancaster admitted later that he never thought the scene would become iconic. To him, it was just misery and grit. Ironically, the moment he despised became one of the most replayed scenes in cinema history, symbolizing desire, chaos, and doomed love all at once. Hollywood perfection, born from pain. Fact number 16. The studio wanted to censor the adultery. Columbia Pictures panicked about showing adultery so openly. The production code still ruled Hollywood morality, and the idea of a married woman kissing another man on a beach terrified censors. Zinnemann fought tooth and nail to keep it. He argued that truth demanded imperfection. The studio tried cutting the scene entirely, but preview audiences loved it. The Catholic Legion of Decency protested, labeling the film immoral, yet ticket sales exploded. Instead of scandal destroying the movie, it fueled fascination. Zinnemann had exposed repressed American desire hiding beneath post-war decency. The Forbidden Affair turned From Here to Eternity from another war picture into a cultural shockwave. It didn't just test censorship, it began to erode it. Hollywood would never be as clean again. Fact number 15. Montgomery Clift lived his role until it broke him. Montgomery Clift didn't just play Private Prewitt, he became him. Known for his method approach, Clift trained with real soldiers, slept in barracks, and carried his bugle everywhere. He practiced until his lips bled and refused stunt doubles. Off-set, he avoided luxury, staying in a small Hawaiian room to feel isolation. His emotional intensity worried Zinnemann, who feared Clift was collapsing. He wasn't acting broken, he was living broken. The loneliness, the pride, the stubborn pain mirrored his own personal demons. Clift's performance burned with realism because he poured his soul into it. After the shoot, he never fully recovered. Friends said Prewitt never left him. It was art that wounded its creator. The film won awards, but left Clift haunted and hollow inside. Fact number 14. The real bugle solo was a last-minute miracle. The haunting bugle solo became one of cinema's most unforgettable sounds. Yet it nearly didn't exist. Clift's playing looked authentic, but his lips couldn't produce the power needed. A military musician named Manny Klein was brought in secretly to dub the solo. The sound team struggled to sync it since Zinnemann demanded it match Clift's exact breath rhythm. At the last hour during mixing, the perfect take was discovered by accident when a reel was played backward and layered twice. The result had an eerie, mournful echo that gave the scene its ghostly power. No one knew it was a mistake until years later. That flawed loop captured the tone of doomed beauty. Eternity wasn't built on perfection, but on accidents that felt like fate. Fact number 13. Donna Reed almost refused her role. Donna Reed was the image of wholesome America. Playing a nightclub hostess who sold companionship horrified her. She feared it would destroy her career. Zinnemann convinced her by saying the role wasn't about sin, but survival. She researched by visiting real nightclubs in Honolulu, talking to women who lived that life. What she found broke her heart and reshaped her performance. Her character, Lorene, became a symbol of dignity in despair. During filming, Reed often cried after takes, saying she finally understood loneliness. When she won the Oscar, she was shocked. The audience that once judged her purity now celebrated her realism. Reed's transformation wasn't glamorous, it was courageous. She gave voice to women Hollywood preferred to ignore and earned immortality doing it. Fact number 12. The set was a real Army base. Still on duty. The movie wasn't filmed on sound stages. It was shot on an active base at Schofield Barracks in Hawaii, where soldiers were still training daily. Zinnemann wanted authenticity, but it brought chaos. Explosions from drills ruined takes. Planes interrupted dialogue every few minutes. Actors were warned to stay clear of restricted zones or risk arrest. Soldiers sometimes wandered into frame watching stars rehearse while orders barked in the background. The cast lived among the troops and ate in mess halls to absorb realism. One night, Lancaster joined a boxing match with a real soldier and nearly lost a tooth. The base's living pulse became part of the film. It wasn't a set anymore. It was history breathing. War and cinema coexisted for a few restless months. Fact number 11. The film's title almost got changed. Executives hated the title From Here to Eternity. They said it sounded too poetic and confusing. Columbia wanted something simpler like Soldier's Return or The Barracks Affair. Zinnemann refused. He said the title was the soul of the story. It captured the endless reach of suffering and love in a doomed world. The line came from Kipling's poem Gentleman Rankers about soldiers condemned to wander forever. To Zinnemann, it meant these characters were marching toward moral eternity, not heaven. The debate grew heated until a studio head shouted that no one would buy tickets to a poem. Zinnemann didn't back down. The studio finally relented. Today that title isn't just remembered. It's carved into film history as a phrase meaning beauty found in ruin. Fact number 10. Go ahead and like and subscribe because the tension on set was explosive. Behind the polished surface, this film was chaos waiting to erupt. Montgomery Clift and Burt Lancaster barely spoke off camera. Lancaster's old-school discipline clashed with Clift's emotional improvisation. Scenes turned into duels. When Clift ignored direction, Lancaster threatened to quit. Zinnemann was forced to shoot their biggest confrontation in separate takes, then splice it together so the audience never saw the feud. Deborah Kerr tried to keep peace, but tension thickened. Zinnemann compared the atmosphere to a powder keg. Despite the friction, the chemistry that bled onto film was real because it came from conflict. The rage, the pride, the resentment all became part of the story. So go ahead and like and subscribe because movies like this were built on real emotional warfare, not Hollywood harmony. Fact number 9. The Japanese attack scene nearly destroyed equipment. The surprise bombing sequence was one of the most ambitious effects scenes of the early 50s. Real pyrotechnics were planted across the base, with dummy aircraft exploding mid-air. But Hawaiian winds shifted during filming, sending smoke and debris toward cameras and crew. A flaming model crashed only yards from Zinnemann. The fire department rushed in thinking the set was truly under attack. Cinematographer Burnett Guffey risked his life protecting the camera to save the shot. The footage that survived was grainy but powerful. Instead of reshooting, Zinnemann kept it for authenticity. You can see smoke swallowing the lens and extras running in panic because they weren't acting. For one horrifying moment, the crew felt what Pearl Harbor might have been like in real time. Fact number 8. A secret affair off set, fueled on-screen passion. Audiences felt scorching chemistry between Burt Lancaster and Deborah Kerr. What few knew was that their romance continued after cameras stopped rolling. Away from set, they met privately in Honolulu hotels, trying to keep their affair secret from studio handlers. Their real intimacy bled into every frame of the beach scene. Crew members whispered that the waves weren't the only thing crashing that day. When the studio found out, publicists worked overtime to bury it, fearing moral backlash. Kerr later called it a foolish but unforgettable chapter. Lancaster said the scene worked because they weren't pretending. It was art born of reckless love. The truth hidden for decades now explains why that moment still radiates with forbidden heat that no direction could ever fake. Fact number 7. The director's perfectionism broke the crew. Fred Zinnemann was known for calm precision, but on this film, he pushed everyone past their limit. He demanded 50 takes of simple scenes, insisting on perfect emotional rhythm. He banned laughter on set, calling it disrespectful to the story's gravity. Crew members collapsed under the Hawaiian heat while he reviewed dailies obsessively for hours. At one point, Burt Lancaster snapped, throwing his cap to the ground and shouting that no war was ever this hard. Zinnemann didn't flinch. He believed truth needed suffering. When the Oscars came, his dedication was praised, but the crew remembered exhaustion and sunburns. The film looked effortless, only because every drop of energy had been drained from those who made it. Perfection in paradise came with a brutal price. Fact number 6. The script was nearly destroyed by censors. James Jones's novel was infamous for its profanity and sexual candor. When screenwriter Daniel Taradash adapted it, the Production Code Office demanded over 100 cuts. They ordered the removal of curse words, bar fights, and even a line about mistreatment in the stockade. Taradash rewrote until nothing felt alive. Then Zinnemann intervened. He restored fragments through implication and camera suggestion. Instead of showing violence, he framed silence. Instead of shouting, he used eyes. What emerged was more powerful because audiences felt what they could not see. Ironically, the censorship that threatened to gut the film forced a revolution in subtle storytelling. The movie proved you could expose corruption and desire without breaking a single rule. It was rebellion disguised as obedience, a masterpiece born of restraint. Fact number 5. Real soldiers were used as extras. Zinnemann didn't want polished Hollywood extras pretending to be soldiers. He wanted the grit, the fatigue, and the posture of men who knew military life. So he recruited real servicemen stationed in Hawaii. These soldiers weren't paid actors, they were active duty personnel who had just finished training drills before stepping onto the set. Many didn't even know what the movie was about. During the stockade and parade scenes, their rigid discipline added realism the studio couldn't fake. Some even corrected the actors on salute technique and rifle handling. But authenticity came at a cost. A few soldiers were reprimanded by their commanding officers for missing scheduled drills while filming. The irony was sharp. The army that once tried to block the story now unknowingly gave it its beating heart. Fact number 4. The film faced religious backlash worldwide. When the movie hit theaters, it was hailed as bold and sinful in equal measure. Religious groups across America condemned it for glorifying adultery and immorality. The Catholic Legion of Decency ranked it among the year's most dangerous films. Some countries banned it outright, yet curiosity triumphed over outrage. Church-going audiences still filled cinemas eager to see what caused such scandal. Critics noted how faith and temptation intertwined throughout the story, making it more spiritual than obscene. Zinnemann never apologized. He said moral struggle was the essence of humanity. What was meant to shame the film only made it more profound. In the tension between purity and passion, audiences saw their own reflection. Eternity wasn't heaven or hell. It was the gray space in between. Fact number 3. Sinatra's real anger was caught on film. The famous scene where Maggio explodes at the guards wasn't acting. Sinatra was furious that morning after learning his close-up time was reduced for scheduling reasons. He walked straight into the scene, still burning with rage. When the guard pushed him, Sinatra struck harder than intended. The crew froze as he shouted real insults that weren't in the script. Zinnemann kept the camera rolling, sensing lightning in that chaos. Later, he whispered to Sinatra that he'd just captured his Oscar moment. What audiences felt wasn't performance. It was a man clawing his way back from humiliation through art. The fury, the pain, the defiance were all real. It was raw electricity on celluloid, the moment where Frank Sinatra truly became immortal. Fact number 2. The Pearl Harbor connection nearly got cut. The studio worried that linking the love story to Pearl Harbor would make it too political. Executives begged Zinnemann to end before the attack, claiming audiences wanted romance, not tragedy. But he refused. He said the story only mattered because it led into catastrophe. The bombing wasn't spectacle, it was destiny closing its fist. After intense argument, Columbia compromised, letting him shoot the attack, but limiting duration. The director used shadow, smoke, and chaos to echo the sudden death of innocence. Those final minutes turned a melodrama into an epic. Without Pearl Harbor, From Here to Eternity would have been another barrack story. With it, the film became a memorial to the lives swept away in one morning of fire and confusion. Fact number 1. The Oscars changed Hollywood forever. From Here to Eternity dominated the 1954 Academy Awards, winning 8 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Supporting Actor for Sinatra. But its triumph meant more than trophies. It signaled the rise of realism over glamour, the shift from studio artifice to human imperfection. After its victory, other filmmakers dared to challenge censorship, explore moral conflict, and use flawed heroes. It shattered the clean image of post-war America and opened the gates for darker, more honest storytelling. Every shadowed drama, every anti-hero film that followed owed it a debt. Eternity proved that audiences didn't want perfection. They wanted truth, even when it hurt. The Oscars that night didn't just honor a film, they crowned a new era. Bonus fact: the beach scene almost never happened. The most iconic kiss in cinema history was nearly scrapped days before filming. Weather forecasts warned of storms. Kerr had fallen ill from heat exhaustion, and Lancaster's schedule was packed with military sequences. Zinnemann considered cutting the scene altogether. Then one morning the tide shifted, the clouds broke, and the crew raced to the beach. They shot the entire sequence in under an hour, as waves rose higher each take. The surfy, soaked microphones ruined shoes and nearly drowned the camera operator. Yet no one stopped. When the final wave hit Kerr, and Lancaster stayed locked in that forbidden embrace as thunder echoed above. It was nature's rebellion caught forever on film. One fleeting moment born of chaos became eternity itself. In the end, From Here to Eternity wasn't just a war drama or love story. It was defiance carved into celluloid, a challenge to censorship, conformity, and fear. It proved that honesty could be as explosive as any bomb. Decades later, the surf still crashes, the bugle still cries, and the film still whispers its eternal truth. Stay tuned for more untold Hollywood secrets, and remember, every classic hides a battlefield beneath its beauty.